Eefa once believed that life was meant to be gentle, filled with love, laughter, and small moments of happiness. She had grown up dreaming of a peaceful home, a caring husband, and a future where she could raise her children in warmth and safety. When she got married, she thought her dreams were finally coming true. In the early days of her marriage, everything seemed perfect. Her husband would smile at her, speak softly, and promise her a life full of comfort. Eefa trusted him completely. She left her old life behind and stepped into a new world, hoping to build something beautiful. But slowly, things began to change. The man she once knew started becoming distant. His tone grew harsh, his patience disappeared, and his anger became a constant presence in their home. At first, it was just words, sharp, painful words that cut deeper than any wound. He would shout at her for small mistakes, blame her for things she didn't do, and make her feel like she was never enough. Eefa tried to stay calm. She told herself that every marriage has difficulties. She believed that if she remained patient, things would eventually get better. She held on to hope, even when it started slipping away from her hands. Then one day, Eefa discovered she was pregnant. It should have been the happiest moment of her life. When she held the test in her trembling hands, tears filled her eyes, but they were tears of hope. She thought this child would bring light back into her darkening world. She imagined her husband smiling again, becoming kind, and embracing fatherhood with love. For a brief moment, things did seem to change. When she told him the news, he was silent at first, then forced a smile. But that smile didn't last long. As the weeks passed, his behavior became even worse. He would come home late, often angry and irritated. Sometimes he ignored her completely, as if she didn't exist. Other times, his anger would explode without warning. He would shout, throw things, and blame her for his frustrations. Eefa's body was changing, her emotions were fragile, and her heart was filled with fear. She needed support, kindness, and care, but instead, she was surrounded by cruelty. Still, she stayed silent. At night, when the house grew quiet, Eefa would sit by the window, gently placing her hands on her growing belly. She would whisper softly, as if her baby could hear her. "My child, you are my strength," she would say. "No matter what happens, I will protect you." Her voice trembled, but her love was strong. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. The pain she endured became a part of her daily life. She learned to hide her tears, to swallow her fear, and to pretend that everything was fine. But inside, she was breaking. One evening, everything changed. Her husband came home in a terrible mood. His face was filled with anger, and his voice echoed through the house. He started shouting at her over something small, something that didn't even matter. Eefa tried to explain, her voice shaking, but he wouldn't listen. His anger grew stronger, louder, more dangerous. Before she could react, he pushed her. Eefa lost her balance and fell hard onto the floor. A sharp pain shot through her body, and she cried out in fear. Her hands instinctively moved to her belly, protecting the life growing inside her. In that moment, time seemed to stop. Her heart pounded, her body trembled, and tears streamed down her face. But it wasn't just the physical pain, it was something deeper. Something inside her finally broke. As she lay on the cold floor, she realized the truth she had been avoiding for so long. This was not love. This was not a home. And if she stayed, she might lose everything, including her child. That night, Eefa didn't sleep. She sat quietly in the darkness, her mind racing with thoughts. Fear tried to hold her back, whispering that she had nowhere to go, no one to turn to. But then she felt the small movement in her belly. It was her baby. A gentle reminder that she was not alone. In that moment, something changed inside her. A quiet strength began to grow, a strength she didn't know she had. The next morning, before the sun fully rose, Eefa made a decision. She packed a small bag with her clothes and a few essentials. Her hands trembled, but her heart was steady. She looked around the house one last time, the place that was supposed to be her safe haven but had become her prison. Without making a sound, she walked out the door. Each step felt heavy, but also freeing. She didn't know exactly where she was going, but she knew one thing for sure: she was choosing life. Not just for herself, but for her child. The journey ahead was not easy. Eefa faced countless struggles. She had to find shelter, deal with financial difficulties, and rebuild her life from nothing. There were days when she felt exhausted, overwhelmed, and afraid. But she never gave up. Because every time she felt weak, she remembered why she left. Months later, Eefa gave birth to a beautiful baby. As she held her child in her arms for the first time, tears filled her eyes once again, but this time, they were tears of strength, not pain. She looked at her baby and whispered, "You are my reason to fight, my reason to live." Life was still challenging, but it was no longer filled with fear. Eefa slowly began to rebuild herself. She found small ways to support herself, met kind people who helped her along the way, and most importantly, she found her own voice. She was no longer the silent, broken woman she once was. She had become strong. She had become brave. She had become a mother who would do anything to protect her child. And even though her past was filled with pain, it did not define her future. Eefa's story is not just about suffering, it is about courage. It is about a woman who chose to stand up, even when she felt like she had no strength left. It is about a mother who turned her fear into power. And above all, it is a reminder that no matter how dark life becomes, there is always a way out. Sometimes, all it takes is one brave step.